People of YouTube, welcome back to Wonder Bathos, episode 7. I am your host, Optometron, here with my guest today, one of my dear friends. I love her so much. We are friends in real life. She moved right down the street from me and my wife recently because we're such close friends, and her name is Amber. Amber, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Infinite Amber, and I am a variety streamer here on Twitch.
So you're a variety. You did great. You did great. You nailed it. That's it. We're done here. You nailed it.
That was the episode, folks. Thanks.
That was it. I do feel like I gotta say it real quick for people who are only watching on YouTube. We didn't have an episode last week. My guest kind of fell through on me, and still haven't heard from her. She lives in the Philippines, so. Hoping everything's okay over there. I know they've had some storms and stuff lately, but so wishing her the best, and hopefully we can get her booked for a later episode. But we are here tonight with Amber, and Amber is a variety streamer. She already said that. She plays a lot of like Hades.
Roguelikes.
She's beaten Hades like 80,000 times now. She's like a world record speedrunner. She's a world record speedrunner.
I wish. Man, the world record, if you look that for Hades, I mean, runs are like 6 minutes at this point, right? That's insane. I think my shortest run ever was like 45. That's crazy.
Insane. I was looking at a game I used to play a lot today called Jumping Flash on the PS1, and I was looking at speed runs for that game, and it's like 12 minutes. And I'm like, damn, I might be able to get close to that.
Yeah. So yeah, I like to play a lot of roguelikes. It's one of my favorite games, and Hades is probably my favorite. I'm so excited for Hades too. But some other ones that I really love, Children of Morta. We just played a roguelike tonight, me and you, called Ember Knights. Super cute, early access.
Ember Knights is so freaking good, dude. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So good.
Thank you so much for recommending that game, because I had a blast. I could have played for another hour for sure.
So good. Have a Nice Death is a really great early access game, roguelike. It's a side-scrolling roguelike, which is, when you think of roguelikes, you really think of like Arena, right? Like Hades, Isaac, that kind of thing.
You're cutting out really bad. The audio keeps cutting out. Is there something going on with your mic?
I don't know. Hello?
Okay.
Is that better?
It's like, speak a whole sentence. Be like, Sally sells seashells down by the seashore.
Sally sells seashells by the seashore?
Okay, yeah, that was good. I think you might have a loose cable or something in the back of your mic. It worked fine right there, but you totally cut out for a second ago, and your lips were still moving, so I was like confused for a second. I mean, what is going on here?
Technical difficulties, right? Technical difficulties. It can't be a stream or a podcast or without something going wrong, right?
Yeah, that is true. In our level of experience, that is very true. Like there has to be something wrong happening at the start.
Yeah.
Professionals, however, they usually test for that kind of stuff, and they have minimal problems. We're going to get through this, though. It's going to be fantastic. We have so much stuff to talk about. Ember Knights was fantastic, or Amber Knights, I should say. It was great. It was I cannot wait to play more of that. I hope that we can get some of our friends in on it.
Oh, 100%. It's a 4-player co-op, so you can have up to 4 players.
Nice.
So good. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you some basic streamer questions, and I'm going to grill you a little bit here. So I know that you just started streaming, about a year ago?
About a year and a half. I think in July, June or July is 2 years.
Nice. Okay. I did not know it had
sporadic.
been
Sporadic.
Time is flying by. Time is flying by.
Totally is. So yeah.
And so since, you were a part of Twitch and a part of the community a long time before you started streaming.
Before that. Yeah.
So what prompted you to finally to do the thing and become a streamer? It'll be a two-part question.
Yes.
I'll come back to the other part.
I really kind of resisted watching Twitch. Tanuki Dan, he's known on YouTube and on Twitch as a fantastic person. He's one of my best friends in real life, and he used to work for me in retail. And I would stop by him like every day, and he would say, "Amber, you Twitch," and I'm all like, "I can't check you out on Twitch because you work for me. I can't show preference to any one of my employees." But when I moved to stores, I checked him out, and I kind of fell in love with the whole concept of Twitch, the live streaming video games, but it's so much more than that, right? You can do music, art. It doesn't have to necessarily be video games. And I fell in love with the concept of Twitch. He rated you once, and I absolutely fell in love with you as a streamer, and had to know you in real life. We're besties now in real life. And watching you stream, watching Dan stream, really falling in love with Tacos the Casual Talker, and really seeing the fun of all of that, I was like, I think I could do that too. I think it would be super great and super social. And so I bought the equipment and I said, I'm going to go live. And it is such an adrenaline rush, a rush of energy, right? You know it.
It is.
The minute you go live, the social aspect, the friends that pop in, the interaction that you get is just so good. It's so fun.
Well, it is, because it reminds you, it's very reminiscent of like way back when, before like the internet, like hanging out with people on the internet was a thing. You had to hang out with people in real life, and like the best times were getting everybody together to like, play whatever video game, and you have a house full of people, and like it has that same kind of energy, except for like you don't have to kick people out at the end of the night. You can just kind of hit the stop streaming button.
It's so true. It's so true.
And I think it's funny you brought up Dan, because that is how we met and how like our relationship started. And I think, man, that in itself kind of explains how awesome Twitch is, and just being able to live stream and stuff. You make friends for life through it, and you in particular have been like so good at being like the leader of the group and getting everybody together. I don't think we would have had any Twitch cons here where everybody tripped and everybody came down if it weren't for you, like, because you kind of made that
none
happen.
of you are planners. None of you are planners.
We suck at it. We need you, Amber. You're so important to our team.
Love you. Yes, the social aspect of Twitch is amazing, and not just in in the country that you live in. I've met so many great people that live in other countries. Roso's Adventures lives in Norway. They are wonderful. A wonderful friend. We've gotten to know each other outside of Twitch. Dan Fantastic in Australia is amazing. There's Supri that lives overseas. Stalking Geek is a really great person that I got to know through Dan's stream. He lives in Germany, and so not to mention our friends that PQ lives in, I think, Canada, and so we have all of these really great international friends that we may never have really gotten if it wasn't for the Twitch platform.
Yeah,
so
we wouldn't have got to know them, and we wouldn't have met them. And I think that is cool, the geography aspect of it too. We're meeting friends all over the world. And man, I do think it's so cool. So with that being said, do you have any like aspirations or goals with Twitch? Like, are you just kind of doing it for fun, for like that adrenaline, like you were talking about, or like, is there something specific you want to do with it? A message you want to get out there?
Growing would be great. It's not like a goal of mine. I don't see myself ever reaching partner. If anything like that ever happened, it would be kind of luck and like life RNG, right? It'd be life RNG. It wouldn't be something that I'm not really pushing towards. But I really stream because it's fun, and it's a way to be social, and it's a way to interact with some of the people that I love the most. So really, for just that social aspect. But there is a little bit of a message in all my streams that I'm sending light and love always to everybody, because I think that's really important. You never know when something that you do or say can affect someone else positively or negatively. And if I can affect one person positively that had a really bad day, or solidify a really good day, or turn someone around, or bring them out of their shell into doing something they wouldn't normally do, specifically like our friend Trevez coming out of his shell and playing Mario Kart and getting on mic, doing something a little bit out of their shell to really enjoy interactions. That is what why I stream, is to fill my cup socially, but then also to have a really great message.
I love you, but I had to cut the feed from my stream because I think that's what was cutting out the audio from you.
Got you. Totally fine.
Yeah. We don't do two takes around here. We're one and done, and I am I'm not going to edit this out. So in 7 episodes, this is only the second time we've had any sort of technical difficulty, and so like I don't feel too bad about it, but I feel like I have to address it. So it's there. That happened. Sorry, Amber, you're just gonna have to pretend like you're looking. If you need me to send a picture, I can send a picture, and then you can just look at that. Pretend like we're talking.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
But no, that's awesome. We can sit here. Like, I think we could sit here for the entire hour and just like shout out like our friends and people that we've met through Twitch. Mm-hmm. It is amazing.
So great. Yeah.
And so I know that you've been going through like a lot of like self-discovery and like you have like big plans for the future and what you want to do. Like outside of Twitch even. And I know that you've been dabbling a lot lately with tarot cards and kind of fortune telling and reading people's stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of school our listeners on how tarot cards work?
Oh, sure. So not everybody is a believer in tarot, and that's totally fine. I think that there is a place in for everybody within tarot. And really what tarot is all about is about tapping into your intuition, not necessarily predicting the future or being a psychic about certain things, but it's about tapping into your intuition and asking questions and having a meditation process that really brings answers into your life that you in a different perspective. So the tarot deck is made up of 2 arcanas, the major arcana and the minor arcana. Your major arcana are cards you might have heard of, like the Magician or the Devil card or Death or the Fool, Hanged Man, Temperance, the Tower, that kind of thing. And those are really broad subjects. These are big, broad subjects. And then your minor arcana are made out of 4 suits, pentacles, wands, cups, and swords. And then this really gets to like some of the nitty gritty about some of the things that you want to ask the tarot about your life or who you are. So it's a really great way to tap into your intuition.
Now, as somebody who does this, are you allowed to read your own tarot, or is it kind of like okay? Totally, yeah. So how are things going for you then?
Oh, I actually on my birthday I did a tarot reading for myself for the year, and the last 2 years of my life have been like really hard for me. I know that you know that, and I was really able to tap into kind of what my next 6 months to a year is going to look like, and apparently it's going to be a good year. I am really letting go of old energies, and I'm going to be able to tap into a new career for myself, as well as strengthen my relationships with the people that I bond with the most. So I've really been able to tap into, it's going to be a really good year.
So does that mean we're going to actually build a commune? Is that?
I wish. Oh my gosh, that would be so great.
Oh man.
We joke all the time about building a commune of friends. So maybe one day.
Without the flavor aid, there's not going to be any Kool-Aid or punch that's allowed to be on the premises.
It is not a cult. It is not a cult.
I mean,
we promise.
It could be though.
Yeah. yeah, I guess.
The cult of Twitch. Mm-hmm. It would be a Twitch cult with all of our Twitch friends.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe not necessarily like, I think everybody has like this idea that it's like, oh, we're gonna like live off the land and we're gonna just grow our own vegetables and we'll like make our own power, and
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and that sounds like cool in theory, but like my idea would be more
living off the grid.
We just have like a small neighborhood to ourselves, like that's still kind of close to everything, but far enough away to where like we can like play music and kind of party on the weekends.
Oh yeah, have weekly game nights or movie nights, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's still common land. We could have absolutely like the auditorium area or whatever.
Yeah,
like the rec center and I think that'd be
absolutely
badass.
Yeah, badass. Well, I mean, rebuild the concept of a neighborhood or a community physically, right? We have online communities, but I mean, how many of us like look at the door in horror when someone rings the bell or knocks and it's not food delivery?
Yeah,
it's not Amazon. You're like, who's at my door? Let's slink away into the shadows. So I mean, having a commune of friends like we talk about, bringing that sense of physical community would be really cool. Yeah.
My coworker just moved out. He was living with some roommates, and he just moved into his own apartment, his first apartment by himself. And I was like, man, I remember those days. But also, the only thing I really miss about living in an apartment is the fact that people don't just walk up and knock on the door or ring your doorbell. Like, people don't go door-to-door salesmen at apartment complexes.
Yeah, they don't.
Like, and now that I have a house, I'm just like, oh God, it's like every week somebody's knocking on the door like, hey, do you need your lawn done? Or like, and it's, I know that like they're just hustling, and like I respect that.
Totally
but dude,
hustling, yeah.
I don't want to be left. I want to be left alone. You know, I don't want people knocking on my door.
I get that. Yes, I get that. I had someone knock on my door the other day randomly. I'm new to this. I'm still fairly new to this neighborhood. Someone knocked on the door and I didn't answer it, but it was a flyer for something. I think it was a politician. I was all like, don't come to my door about politics, please.
Oh God, I want to know who gave away my phone number to all the campaign texters or whatever when there's an election going on. I'm just like, oh my God, I hate this, dude. Every day it was like Trump needs your support, and I'm like, dude, I cannot express to you how much I don't want this text message.
Unsubscribe, please. Unsubscribe me from your phone.
I've tried to hit unsend, stop, like all that, like nothing works. They just keep
do not
doing
call
it
list.
Well, they choose different numbers. It's either from like some sort of thing that sends it from a different number each time, some sort of program.
A bot generator, probably. Something like that.
You can block the number, but it's not going to do you any good. They're going to keep sending it anyway. And it's like, Congressman French Hill. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I do not care. I do not want to hear about Congressman French Hill. I'm at work.
Yeah. Anyway. I really hate people who put flyers on underneath car windshield wipers. And I don't know how aware of you are, but as a woman, how dangerous that is to be out in a place, Walmart parking lot or whatever, alone, especially if it's dark, and then there is a windshield or something underneath your windshield wiper in the dark, how vulnerable that makes you as a woman to get out. And that's actually a tactic for bad people to attack lone women.
I was going to ask, is that like a sign of something?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So usually, I mean, you don't want to drive away with it underneath your windshield wiper because you can be pulled over for littering if it flies off your car. But I'd rather have that fine and be safe.
I mean, you could at least like drive down the road or something, go to a gas station.
Get it off. So, So PSA to anyone who is out there hustling, I get your hustle, get your information out there, but do not put flyers underneath windshield wipers. It is a tactic, and it makes women scared.
Create a Facebook page like everybody else.
Yes. Yeah. Don't have to old school it.
You hustle your wares to the internet. Nobody wants to be bothered analog anymore. It's dangerous out there.
It is dangerous out there.
It is. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't be freaking people out at the grocery store. Like, I go in for milk and then I come out and there's like a flyer underneath my windshield, and then I'm gonna like freak the fuck out. I'm like call the cops and like watch the car, Oh, you get in your car and you see the flyer, and then you get out and you see what it is, and then I'm always pissed off at the company. Like, why did you put that underneath my windshield? And then you have to get out of the car, and then it's trash in your car. So they just gave you trash. Yeah.
How many of us have picked up a flyer off a windshield and like said, this is the piece of information I've been waiting on my entire life. I'm going to frame it when I go home.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the same with business cards. Like, I mean, even if you have a super cool, like you have to have like the coolest business card ever. Yeah. It has to be like made out of plastic and have like glitter inlaid in it. And then you're going to be like, man, I'm going to keep this just because it's cool.
Forever. Yeah. It's cool.
But like paper business cards, unless it's actually the 1 in 10 chance that it's going to be a service that you're actually going to need or want later, where you're like, oh dude, okay, I definitely need this so I can hit you up later,
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it's so archaic. Yeah. Everyone has phones now.
Of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, now you go to someplace and you have someone's number, you immediately ask, what's your number? Can you text me and I'll save it? It's just a piece of history that we no longer need. You don't really need business cards. Back when people had Rolodexes, that's where you put your business card information. But you have a phone now. You have a phone, or you have a tablet or whatever. You don't really need that anymore.
Everybody had Rolexes back then? What?
No, a Rolodex. Rolodex.
Oh, Rolodex. I was like, damn, how would you put a business card inside a watch? That seems weird.
Well, I mean, they were super fancy. Maybe they had a weird internal pocket. You never know.
Like, it's just like a watch, but it's like the size of a business card, like like a wallet on top of it. That'd be crazy.
Yes.
I'm sure it exists somewhere. There's some weird stuff out there. God. What games are you looking forward to? What are you watching right now? That's a better question. Let's start off with the movies and TV shows. What's on Amber's playlist?
I've been rewatching a lot of comfort movies. Of course, The Labyrinth is like my favorite, stuff like that.
I love it.
But
Pull the stars from the sky for no one.
Yes. David Bowie, First Love. But the show I've been really into lately, surprisingly, is The Crown. Have you watched it?
No, is that the satire one where it's like people fighting over the crown?
No, it is about the British royal family from the time that Queen Elizabeth took power to her going into the 20th century. I think I'm on season 4 and I've been watching it. And it's so interesting to watch a TV show about people who are still alive. You know, typically when they make some kind of history movie, it's because they've passed. But like it's such an interesting show, right? Because these people are living. They can totally fact check the show. And to be an actor or an actress to play the Queen of England or Princess Diana or Prince Charles, to play the character that, you know, is so iconic, has got to be nerve-wracking for the actress. But the show's really super interesting. It kind of gives a different perspective and humanizes, you know, a class of people that seems so untouchable. It really humanizes them.
I get exactly what you're talking about, but also, like, how good is your memory really? You know what I mean? Like, you can kind of remember like certain events, you know, like places, locations, but like time is just a weird thing. Like if I ever got questioned for murder or something, I can't believe I'm about to say this on the internet, but if I ever got questioned for murder, I'd be screwed, dude. Cause they'd be like, where were you the night of August 23rd at 8 p.m. I'd be like, I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know where I was. That was so long ago.
Let me check my Twitter. You'd have to say something like, let me check my Twitter, my TikTok to remember.
That's exactly what I would do. I would have to check my social media.
Was I streaming? I don't know.
I'd have to check social media and then, you know, like, I mean, it's nighttime. We don't ever go out anywhere. So then I would remember that. And I'd be like, I was probably at home, like with my family, you know, because we don't ever go anywhere. So
they'd ask you, do you have an alibi?
Yeah.
I think for something, I don't really know. There's historians for the royal family. I don't know if they get a whole like letters that have been written, and it's dramatized. It's totally dramatized with the dialogue and everything.
Right. That's what
show's super interesting. Yeah.
Is it supposed to be funny though? Is there like a lot of comedy in it?
No. I mean, it's drama. It's real life. It's kind of slice of life, you know. So there's some dramatic moments. There's some funny moments. There's some moments of British history that at the end it'll kind of give you a recap of what happened in the episode, like how it affected, you know, real life.
Okay.
So it's just like kind of a slice of life with the British royal family, and it's super interesting. I didn't think I was going to like the show. I resisted for a really long time. I mean, it has 6 seasons, and I'm just now watching it. So that's been super good. And then recently I binge watched Wednesday. Such a great show.
Oh my God, I loved it. Every second was amazing.
It was so good.
I take it back. Not every second. The only thing I didn't like was, and no spoilers, but the only thing I didn't like was like the Twilight like love triangle thing that was going on, like in the middle of the season. I was like, it just felt unnecessary. I know why they did it, but it felt unnecessary.
I mean, it's kind of a young adult teen-esque version of the Addams Family, so I get why it was. And I thought that they did the franchise justice with that show, with the portrayal of Wednesday, with the nuggets that we saw of her family.
Right.
And it really
it's Tim Burton. Tim Burton's pretty trusted, well-renowned director, you know, like I don't think everything he's put out has been gold, but I mean, like, the dude has a formula. he knows how to make a good movie.
Absolutely. I really liked the fact that Christina Ricci was in the show too.
Yeah.
Kind of brought it round in circle. Yeah.
They didn't talk about that a lot when the show was coming out. That was kind of like a surprise going into the show. You see her name in the credits and you're like, where Where is
Like,
she gonna be?
where's she gonna be? Yeah, so good.
I don't know.
So,
Would it have been weird if they made her Morticia? Would that have been weird?
No, yes, because it's not. I mean, she's a great actress. So, but I mean, you expect a certain kind of, because she plays Wednesday, but I mean, the character that she plays in the show was a lot different. I don't know. I think it would have been weird if she played Tisha. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on the fence about it. I can see where it would kind of be cool, but also, yeah.
I thought that Catherine Zeta-Jones was age appropriate for the role.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really like Catherine Zeta-Jones Morticia. Yeah. So,
you think Louise Guzman fought somebody to be
Gomez?
to be Gomez? Yeah.
No. You know, a lot of people were really controversial about the choice of actor to play Gomez. But if you harken it back to the comic book, he was really a perfect choice.
Right. Yeah. The old school comic book. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean.
Plus, you can't ever recapture Raul. I can't think of his name.
The actor that played it in the 90s. Yeah,
he played M. Bison in the Street Fighter movie too.
Oh, really? He did.
That dude was.
Oh my gosh.
He was in some pretty high profile movies back then. He was a really good actor.
Yeah, he was. But he was the perfect Gomez, really.
Yeah. So you can't.
Angelica Houston is Morticia. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like the Joker, like you can't have an actor like pass away who did an outstanding job with a role and then put another actor in that same role, like playing the same like version of the character.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be a different version.
Absolutely. I mean, I know what you're saying about Heath Ledger playing the Joker. Stellar performance, right? It'll be talked about forever. But yes, you can't go back to that franchise. That franchise is, you have to restart it. And I really liked Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, the movie The Joker. I think that he played an amazing Joker.
Oh my God. I can't wait for Lady Gaga in the second one as Harley Quinn.
Yes.
It's going to be so freaking good.
So good.
It's going to be so good.
But, Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker was just so good, but it was definitely a different version than Heath Ledger did, So you're right. You can't go back. So what have you been watching, dude?
Let's see. What are we watching right now? We just started something new. We started Last of Us, and super controversial hot take. I did not like the video game. I didn't play the second one. I've only played the first one. I just wasn't a fan of the mechanics and stuff of the game. Like, I feel like at the time the story felt like they were just pulling every sci-fi cliche and everything in as much as they could to make as many references as possible. And Logan came out around the same time, so same kind of story. Older grizzled badass with traveling with a little girl, and so I felt like it at the time it was really phoned in because the gameplay just wasn't great to me either. But it was really, really pretty. The game was super, super pretty. It was one of the prettiest games to come out at the time, and now I'm absolutely in love with the show. I think the show is fantastic, which I was very surprised with. But I also a huge fan of Pedro Pascal, and the girl they got to play Ellie is doing a phenomenal job so far. So
I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's really good. Even if you haven't played the video, it is a very perfect adaptation of a video game show. So if you haven't played the game,
that's good. Yeah,
you will really enjoy it because you get the feel of the video game from it.
Yeah, so that's really encouraging to hear, right? Because a lot of times when it comes to video game to movie adaptations, it's very cartoony, and even if it's a serious game, it does that transition doesn't feel. Doesn't always feel super smooth or super serious. So the fact that the show can stand alone for the video game, but also pay homage to the game, and it doesn't feel super cartoony. That's really awesome. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Sonic the Hedgehog treatment.
Yes.
No,
the live action original Mario treatment. Come on.
Oh my God. Dude, okay, for the 90s though, they did the best they could for the 90s.
I mean, that's true.
And even though it's bad,
it's Mario.
It's still a cult classic. I love that movie so much for how bad it is.
Yes.
It's
John
so good.
Leguizamo was so great in that.
And like Daisy, like one of the last scenes of the movie. I'm spoiling it because the movie came out like 30 years ago. If you haven't seen it,
yes.
But like Daisy comes back at the end and she's like, Mario, we gotta go. It was just so. They all had like Brooklyn accents. It was so good. We should do a Discord watch party and watch the Mario Brothers movie at some point. That'd be so good.
Oh, that would be super good. One movie that I've seen, but like my Netflix is like hardcore suggesting it. You know when you get your Netflix and it shows like your suggested movies, but then like every line you go down, that movie just happens to be there some way. It's always like a sign that, do I really need to watch this or watch this? And my Netflix is absolutely suggesting me watch Idiocracy again. I haven't seen that movie in a few years, but it's like Netflix is saying you have to watch Idiocracy.
It's because it's like current events, and you go down to the next line, and it's like documentaries, and then you go down to the next line. We mentioned briefly about tarot readings, but it's like definitely a prophecy to future America, at least. Yeah.
So I'm probably going to be watching Idiocracy, and for anyone who doesn't know what the movie is, basically the main character, who I think is Luke Wilson, right? Yeah. Is Luke Wilson, goes into the future, and basically the future is stupid. They forget how to do things, and like they can't grow. They don't understand about water, so everyone's drinking Mountain Dew. I mean, it's just the future is stupid.
They water the grass and the plants with Gatorade. That's what.
Because the electrolytes, right?
Yeah. Plants crave it.
Yeah. Everyone's eating processed food, and basically the world has become dumb. And while the Luke Wilson character isn't too smart in current times, he's like a genius in the future. And it's just kind of a precursor to what America or the world could be if we continue on certain paths. Was it Einstein that said that technology would make people stupid? There's some kind of quote. I'm really dumbing it down.
I mean, a lot of people have said that. I mean, from a philosophical standpoint, I mean, there's no way around it. If you have technology, if everything is done for us and we don't have to do it, then we become complacent and lazy and like.
Oh yeah.
But also, how awesome would that be? Like, you could just have things fly you around to wherever you want to go. Like, imagine being able to teleport to the grocery store. Like, how freaking cool would
teleportation.
That be?
And like, if I could pick a power.
Yeah, exactly. And now, 100%. Like, after, still in the pandemic, with COVID and everything else, a lot of office buildings are learning that they can operate without having an office building.
100%,
If you have remote workers, they're saving more money. They get to stay home, so they're happy. You don't have to pay for an entire office building, so that's saving you probably I'm going to say
millions.
Thousands, but millions.
Depending on the
business,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're saving all that money. Plus, you don't have to drug test your employees. I mean, you still could, but you keep staff.
Yeah, I mean, and the future is really interesting, right? I mean, we are considered, the most learned, some of the most learned generations in history. We have instant access to all information with Wikipedia and Google and all of that. But also, we have the least retained knowledge because you don't really need to learn math as much as you did back in the day because you have a phone that will do it for you. You don't really have to learn about history because you can just. So we have ready access to information, and technology is a really beautiful thing. In my house, I have a whole bunch of Echo, Amazon things that will just turn lights on for you.
She is one of the saved ones in the robot apocalypse because she's polite. She's so polite.
I am so polite to my Alexa.
She makes sure she says thank you and every time. And
that's right.
One time it actually said something like, thank you for being so nice to me.
100% it did. Yeah, it sure did. I'm sure it's programmed that when you say thank you to her, the AI, the other day I said thank you and I said, I have an Echo in here. I don't want to wake it up, but I said the name, thank you so much for being helpful. And the AI said thank you for always being polite. And I was all like, that's creepy.
Yeah,
that it responded back.
Creepy. Yeah,
super creepy. But she's got access to all my lights in the house, pretty much, and
There's one line of code. There's one line of code that's keeping all of our machines from trying to murder us. Just remember that.
Yeah. It was a few streams ago, but Tanuki Dan was all like, Amber will save to work in the kitchen for the robots. And I was like, did you really kitchen? Bitch, I love you. But I'm like, and then I wanted to go, why do the robots need a kitchen? I guess to feed, I guess if you go back to the Matrix,
feed the baby robots. They got to feed the baby robots.
Feed the baby robots, yeah.
You got to cook food. Feed the baby robots.
I mean, if you believe in the, I guess the land of the Matrix, humans, I guess, will exist battery. So maybe we'll be batteries for the humans, and maybe I won't be sacrificed as a battery if I'm nice to my Amazon Alexa. So
yeah,
you never know.
I think you and a few other people out there who are nice to their electronics will be spared.
I'll be right. We'll be spared. So be nice. Be nice. You might be spared too in the future. So, because
no, I mean, it's too late for me. I've said horrible, awful things to my Alexa.
You will not be spared. But yeah, technology has made life super interesting and easy, which is really great. But I really wish there could be more advances in technology, like cleaner fuel for cars. I mean, the electric car has taken 1,001 years, it feels like, to come out, and it's still not readily available to everyone.
I mean, we can talk about that. That's kind of a pressing issue. So, like, the problem with the electric cars and, like, the Teslas and stuff, one, they're super fucking expensive, but two...
100%, yeah.
They're super fucking expensive. The lithium that it takes, the amount of battery. Have you ever seen the inside of one of those batteries? So like they look like vape batteries. They're like the same size.
Really?
They're like little 1650 mAh batteries, like the little round ones.
Interesting, yeah.
But there's like 100 of them, like all in this box, and like that's the box that that's the battery for the Tesla.
Yeah.
And the amount of lithium that it takes to get
Power
one battery for one Tesla is like the equivalent of like an 18-wheeler driving back and forth across the country like 23 or 24 times, something like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just tossing numbers out there, but it was something crazy. And so like that's probably not good for the environment as well. But once everybody has an electric car, it will be better than putting out emissions and all the bad shit that's in the air. So like,
I mean, and yes, that's true, right? I mean, that is true.
Thing.
But then you also have to think about we're no longer using fossil fuels to fuel cars. But I mean, it's like, what's fueling the electric companies? Is it clean? Is it clean electricity, like wind electricity? Or is it still fossil fueled electricity that's being run to these cars? So, I mean, it's like, you have to start somewhere, clean living somewhere. You really do. Like, you have to be sure that it's going all the way with clean living and clean energy.
I think everything is going towards like solar powered and stuff. I think we are trying to go more green and stuff. And like, I don't know, probably 3 times in a month they've come and knocked on our door asking about, well, the government has a program and we can get you free solar panels put up. And we're like, hell yeah, that sounds awesome. And then I start looking up reviews where it's like they came and put these things in and it didn't work and I have no power and it's been 3 months now and we still have no power. Yeah. And I'm like, oh God. No, we're not doing that. So like it's terrifying too. I'm like, I don't trust that right now until there's like good service.
Usually anyone coming knock on your door, anything is going to be as reputable as you would think it would be, right? So, really doing research before you do something like switching your entire home to solar power.
Well, most states are doing it. The program that the state's doing has nothing to do with the people that are installing it, though. They're like third-party contractors. They come out, they sell us on it, right? And then they probably get a kickback or a payment from the government, and they're also probably the people that get called to like maintenance the shit. But if they don't feel like coming out to maintenance it, or like if they do something wrong, you're stuck on a waiting list with everybody else waiting on somebody to come fix your shit. And I don't know. It's not really any different from the electric company, except for the thought of possibly being without power for 3 months. I think the electricity company would get out a little bit faster than that. Yeah,
there was there's always a TikTok or something going on, and I watched a TikTok recently about solar power energy, and it was one of those where people just speak before they're super informed about anything. And this, it was a woman.
I try to be.
It was a woman. It was like in response to a comment, and the woman was like, "Everyone can't switch to solar power because it would drain the sun." And we were like, "Ma'am, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works." she was worried that the sun's power would be drained because people are so used to consumption energy, right? So you consume it until it's gone. And eventually the sun's energy will it'll blow up and,
Yeah.
then we'll really not,
That's
it
so
won't
funny.
be good for us.
Funny sun facts that don't exist. Somebody told me the other day, they were like, yeah, I mean, we could totally go to the sun. And I'm like, no, we can't. And they're like,
no, we can't.
No, we totally could. It would only take like a year to get there. And I'm like, you are out of your fucking mind. You could put a baby in a rocket and send it to the sun as fast as our technology will allow it, and it would still die of old age before it got there. The sun is so fucking far away.
Well, I mean, and you would die before you would even burn up before, right? So,
well, I mean, just getting to it though, like not, yeah, of course you can't land on the sun, but we can't travel there either. It's like a million light years away. This shit's so far.
So, but I mean, then you talk about going back to the movie Idiocracy. I mean, statements like, I don't want to have solar power because it's going to drain the sun's energy. I mean, this person is afraid of that. That doesn't exist, right? That we can't drain the sun using solar panels.
Right.
But it lends itself back to, the movie like Idiocracy being a potential future for the world. So,
misinformation is a big fucking problem. Like
100%, yeah.
Because it goes way beyond satire. Like you have articles like The Onion and stuff where like they'll kind of dress it up and make it like look real, but the headline is so ridiculous that it's like, who is ever gonna believe this? And now there's people that actually believe the shit.
Yes.
And it's like you can't.
Well, I mean, and then that's the reason why websites like Snopes exist. I mean, because you read something and like, is it true or not? And there has to be a website that tells you if something that should sound unreal, is it unreal?
Yeah, but who's fact checking them though, right? What if they decide? What if some powerful, influential figure is like, hey,
it's
Snopes,
true.
We're gonna pay you like $10 million, but you got to say that this thing going on is real, and that's a problem too, because there are even especially with like vaping, like kind of the industry that I'm in, that's a big problem. There's a lot of misinformation that is coming out from World Health organizations, and like there's articles from doctors and stuff everywhere that are like, no, that's not true. No, that's not true, but because they're pumping it out, like everybody else thinks like really bad shit, only like 7 people have died from vaping versus like, I don't know, thousands, 100,000 that dies from smoking cigarettes, and
I mean, like a day, right?
Yeah.
Millions of people have died from smoking cigarettes. Yeah.
And now like and those 7 people that died from vaping were doing shit with it that they should not have been doing. Yeah, like they were not using it properly. Like if you buy a vehicle and drive it off of a cliff, like they're not going to boycott the car company unless it was the car company's fault. If it was user error, then you shouldn't have driven off of that cliff.
And I mean, so true, user error or like brakes going out, but like, would you sue the car company or would you sue the brake manufacturer?
Right.
But I mean, with
double the chances.
Double the chances. But like with anything, I mean, how long has vaping been around? Like 10 years, maybe? Has it been even that long that it's been in the mainstream?
A little bit longer than that. I would say like 2006, 2007, maybe. Like
okay, so almost 14 years. Okay.
But there's and there needs to be more studies on it for sure.
I agree,
there's not a lot of studies on like the long-term effects and what it can actually do. Is it harmful for you overall? Maybe. Is it way better than smoking cigarettes? I think most definitely. I think it's definitely a safer alternative. Just from like personal experience, I sleep better, I breathe better. And like I haven't had a cigarette in almost 2 years, so like like it's kicking ass.
That's awesome.
But here's a good con to it, because like this is something we didn't say. So like if you get a vape could have like the amount of nicotine in it that like 8 packs of cigarettes have, and then you go through in twice the amount of time. You could go through that thing in like 4 days, so you're taking in a lot more nicotine, so that is for
That's
sure.
That's true. So I mean, it could be slightly more, it could be more addictive, and you have a more powerful drug inside you. Absolutely.
Makes it harder to quit.
Yeah. And but like with anything new, there's typically anything that comes out unknown, there is an instant fear mongering that happens with just about anything.
Well, and capitalism too. Like a lot of it's the tobacco companies lobbying against vaping and stuff. I'm not on a high horse or a soapbox here. We just got on the topic.
Yeah, the topic. I mean, but that's true, right? I mean, when you talk about government and you would hope that the government would do its job and allow things in a truly democratic fashion be voted into existence based on fact, right? Based on fact. But our government does not pass laws based on fact. It's based on lobbying and money.
Yeah.
So, you know, the thing is that you have
we're breaching dangerous territory here. I feel like we're about to start going on a fucking our government sucks rant.
No, I don't think I don't want to go on our government sucks rant. But I mean,
do
I really
every second of the goddamn day.
You know, but I mean, it's not, in my opinion, ethical that lobbying exists. I mean, I get wanting your bill and your law to be passed, but how
would you police that though? Like how literally
you can't police that. You cannot police lobbying.
You can't change people from having opinions and be like,
because
don't have an opinion.
Yes, but the thing is that with lobbying, you're using money and influence to get a law passed. And even if it's a good law, you can lobby it, but the way that it's passed is not ethical, in my opinion. Right. If you have to pay people to listen to you about your law because their time, their ear is worth money when it should be free to listen to votes and facts, that means that our politicians can be bought for good or bad laws, and that's not ethical. I really don't think that lobbying should exist, in my opinion. You know, again, I get wanting your laws to be put into effect, but if you have to pay for it, even if it's considered a quote unquote a good law to you, a good bill or whatever it is, you pass it in unethical ways, and it's so corrupt.
I mean, yeah, you want to fix the government real fast, you take away their paychecks. Like if it wasn't such a lucrative career, you know what I mean, and made you rich and powerful to have like those seats of power, there would be no point for it, you know.
Well, I mean, a lot of politicians don't even make their money from the pay they get from citizens. They make it from lobbyists and things of that nature.
Exactly.
They get paid for their vote.
They still bring in pretty hefty pay. That's why people are like, oh, Congress people don't make millions of dollars. They only make like $175,000 a year. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? To do what? Those people are asleep half the time. 2 of them are over the age of 80. There's 2 80-year-olds in Congress who are making decisions that that probably weren't good, you know, when they first got into Congress. Like, they've been around for a long time. It's time for them to step down and get some like new blood in there, you know.
And I absolutely agree with that. Our world is changing. Society is changing everywhere. Specifically in America, it really is. And you know, the whole meme, the OK Boomer meme, is there. And I think that there are good and bad people in all eras of time. In all aspects of people. There are good and bad people in every single position of the world, every single age, every race. I mean, there are good and bad people everywhere. But there is a school of thought that was taught to the boomers, Gen X, the millennials, and Gen Z. I mean, we all grew up in a different time, a drastically different time from each other. It's not that it's just age generation, but like society and the events of life that shaped us are so drastically different. You know, the boomers were really shaped by, you know, Vietnam and they were born during World War II, that era, shaped by Vietnam and the Civil War, not the Civil War, meaning the Civil Rights War that took place. And then you have Generation X that really was there for the Iraqi War, original Iraq, and all of that. And then, you know, Operation Freedom. And then, you know, millennial, me and you are millennials. And we really grew up with things like Oklahoma City bombing and 9/11, the rise of school shootings. And then you have Gen Z, right, who's grown up through the pandemic and things of that nature. And, you know, the level of quote unquote wokeness has just increased with each generation. And the fact that our government is still controlled by a certain age of people with no other representation is really, I think, the issue. I mean, our whole country was based on no taxation without representation, but our government does not represent our population, not in gender, not in race, and not in age. And I think that's something that should change.
Preach.
Yeah, Preach. I really do.
Preach. I definitely, dude, I'm right there with you. I was like, I want to interject. I'm like, no, I can't. I just want to hear you talk, because that you nailed it. You definitely nailed it. And people, I think like the school of thought, like changing that school of thought too, like what you're saying, because like kids they're not born like racist or bigots, you know, like that shit's learned, taught behavior.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you stop that? Like, how do we stop that for future generations and stuff? And like, you want to be so angry and like mad and like I fucking hate these people because they hate other people, you know? And it's like, really, that it just creates like a cycle of hate. And it's like, you just want, I don't know. It's so hard, but like, you have to show love to like get them to realize like there's a better way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think for some people, it doesn't matter how much you want to argue or you want to picket or you want to debate. There are some people in this world that'll never be changed, and they will absolutely never sway from their school of thinking, no matter what it is.
But how do we get those people to stop reproducing? I think that's the.
Well, I mean, the point is that I mean a lot of people can say some negative things about Gen Z, but the point is that is a generation of people that, I really hate the term woke, but they are.
I tend to stay away from saying that.
Yeah, I mean, but they are a generation that has a different school of thought on everything. I mean, they're growing up in a world where it is much safer to be part of the LGBTQI plus community. It's, non-binary gender norms becoming more accepted and normalized within that generation. And I think that that a sense of injustice will kind of age out as generations die out. And as sad as that is, I think that that's how some of the world's going to be fixed, is that the newer generation is coming in and being able to listen to each other, especially with around the millennials and down have really accepted things like therapy and really working on your inner self and gaining a new enlightenment about who they are and their emotions and how they've dealt with the trauma of, our society. And I think that Gen Z is really going to push that forward. So I think that what happens is that true change will be affected through societal changes based on generation. And I think that
I just had an interesting thought though that goes into that. So like, as the digital age becomes more prevalent and like a lot less like face-to-face interaction and stuff too, like you're going to get to know a lot more people and build relationships with those people, coworkers, friends and stuff like that, without ever knowing what they look like or like, you know, you know what I mean? And so I think that might break down some of those barriers too. And like,
absolutely.
I really hope that we are evolving into something better and more like unified for everybody.
Yeah.
A safer environment everywhere, because
I hope so.
There's pretty fucked up some places still, like you said, it's safer. I think it's more socially accepted overall, but I think that there are still a lot of fucking dangerous, violent people out there. And
100%. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and we're really speaking about the norms inside of the United States of America, right? But every single country on the planet has a different stance on social normatives and social justice and civil justice and that kind of thing. So, I mean, throughout the world, there are countries that it's still illegal and punishable by death to be a homosexual, to be gay, to be part of the LGBTQI plus community, but there are also some countries that are way more advanced in acceptance in the U.S. and and again, when you think about the information age, those countries that really don't have a lot of acceptance also, if you really look at it, have a restriction on internet and information.
Right.
They have,
yeah, they're only allowed so much internet a day, and they're only allowed to watch certain things, and it has to be educational
100%.
or informative or something revolving around their government. Yeah, that's awful.
I mean, and there are some governments that have a completely different internet setup than the rest of the world, completely closed off.
Right.
From the rest of the world. So
you can get around it, but it's a criminal offense.
100%. So I think that, talk about moving forward with societal cultures. I think it's all about, again, information and really allowing the next generation to grow. And I'm really excited about what Gen Z is going to do in the next 10, 20 years with who they are when they become adults and they really start taking jobs in society and that, and then
yeah,
makes me kind of excited. Yeah,
we're not just evolving like technologically either, man. I mean, there's some of these athletes and some of these kids that are out there doing extraordinary things that have never been done before, man. Tony Hawk was the first person to land the 900, and I mean, he did that like, I don't know, probably in his 20s, you know. Now there's like a 5 or 6 year old kid that landed like one more than that, and he did like a 1080 on a skateboard, on a full vert, the same size ramp that Tony Hawk did the 900 on, and like set a world record, you know. And now the 6-year-old kid has broken that, and it's like, man, dude, people are out there doing some wild stuff. And so that in that regard, I do. As far as us becoming lazy and stuff and complacent with technology, there are still people out there pushing the boundaries and like, so I think we'll be okay on that.
Yeah. And then, but you kind of think of that, right? And when you think about evolution, the word evolution, right? You think, human beings going from primate to the human we are now. But like, think about like microevolution, like Tony Hawk landing the 9 and then a 6-year-old landing the 1080, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what if that's like microevolution in human ability? Is that, it moves inch by inch to us. But, when you think about a million years, 10,000 years from now, 20,000 years from now, it's going to seem like it could be a leap in humanity. And so people will say, especially people who don't believe in evolution, they'll say, well, I mean, if evolution exists, then why don't we see it? It's like, well, maybe we're just not looking.
Yeah, we just see it in small bursts here and there. I mean, I think about the stuff all the time. They did a study recently, and they said if you took somebody from like the 1600s and you moved them to the 1800s, you just like teleported them 200 years into the future, they would be able to adapt and live in that society very easily because things would not have changed that much. But if you took somebody from the 1970s and you put them today, now think about that. There are still people who are alive from prior to the 70s that have seen the evolution and been there for it. But if you just took somebody straight up from like 1975 and brought them now, their head would explode. They would not be able to function and not be able to understand the technology and everything going on around them. They would not be able to handle it. Their brain would just shut down. Well, no. I
mean, and that makes sense, insane. Right? I mean, even if their brain could understand it, there's no way that they can survive. They don't have the life skills. I mean, in the 70s, you paid with everything basically with cash and potentially a check.
Right.
But I mean, now everything's paid through phone. I mean, or, tapping with your watch or
your credit card. Yeah.
Yes. They would be able to pay for groceries or even go rent a house. 'Cause I mean, they wouldn't have credit to rent a house. They wouldn't even know how to get credit to rent a house or to buy a house. Right. So,
I would hope that if somebody teleported, from the 1970s to today, they would just give that person a house or like, just like,
you would think, right? You would think.
Welcome on in. We'll give you an apartment. No, it's because that would suck. Time traveler from the 1970s, homeless. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. What a time to be alive.
And I guess that when you really think about time travel, you always kind of think about someone in the future going back in time. But I mean, being able to teleport to the future, when we think about that, you think that, it's going to be super interesting to see what the future was. But the statement that you just said, someone from the 70s into 2023, would our brains explode if we were able to travel into the future? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of crazy. I mean, when you think about time travel in the movies, the time traveler always understands and adapts. Because you can go back in time and do some research. But I mean, they've even done some gone ahead in the future.
I don't know. There's too many paradoxes that exist within that, because like if you were to travel to the future, you're traveling to a future obviously where you were not present for that remainder of your life or whatever. And so like it would be completely different from the future that you were going to experience. And so like at that point it just seems like an impossibility. It just doesn't seem feasible. And then like, I don't know, going back in time. If you were to go back in time, I feel like you would have to go farther than when you were born. Like if you were to spawn somewhere after where you're still alive and around, I feel like that would just create a paradox, and then like the universe, the Earth would become a black hole and just suck in on itself because it doesn't know how to handle it,
I mean, going back in time and being able to interact at any stage, whether you were alive or not, can cause butterfly effects to change the future.
That's true.
So I mean, time travel, in order for it to not create, going back in time, a shift in the timeline, you'd have to go only as a spectator, like as a ghost, as a hologram or whatever. Maybe your brain only travels back into time in order for you to literally touch nothing, and you're just there to witness history, kind of like reading a book.
Or it would just become some sort of alternate dimension. It would be like a parallel dimension where you going there was supposed to happen, but then could you ever get back?
No, I mean, you would never go back to the timeline that you came from, ever. You would never be able to go back and change anything. I mean, when you think about the movie like the Back to the Future movies, right? I mean, it touches time travel in a very kind of lighthearted way, right? But like, he went back in time. They tried to save some things that happened.
You said lighthearted. His mom tried to hook up with him.
Yes, I know.
That's fucked up.
I know. But I mean, it's like...
That's not lighthearted.
I mean, it's supposed to be a feel-good movie. But, he goes back to a different future. I mean, he changed his future for this family for the better in the movie, but I mean, it could have been worse. So, I mean, I think it just means that time travel... it just can't exist in an ethical way, because there's no way that you can't go back time and change. And time travel might exist, right? I mean, every butterfly effect, and if you talk about like multiple dimensions and infinite dimensions of where we're at, that at this very moment, there's a dimension that me and you have never met, because I never got on Twitch, or I never came to visit you, or maybe you really did murder the first time we met, haha.
It's a fun story, chat. I almost murdered Amber.
In my brain, maybe. But what I'm saying is, it's like time travel just can't, because of butterfly effect, infinite ripples. I mean, I just don't think that it's ever would be plausible. And even if it was,
I think it exists. I just think that the rules, we don't understand the rules. I think is the problem. We just don't, because I feel like we know enough about quantum mechanics and like quantum physics to know that like time is not linear, right? Time is kind of like a circle that just kind of goes forever and ever. And with that being said, the universe expands. There is a finite edge to the universe, but it is ever expanding, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I had a thought. Hold on. This is going somewhere. Oh, and then and then you think about the theory of relativity. And I never really understood what the theory of relativity meant. Where people say time is relative. But then it's explained in movies like Interstellar, where like we could be on the planet Earth, and because of our gravity and our gravitational field, we perceive time as one thing, where like if you were on like a different planet, like I'm just going to say Jupiter or something, time might pass faster. So an hour there for you could be like a year for us, just because of the gravity and the way that things happen. And so like with that, the fact that time can exist in the same universe, but at two different paces, that fucking blows my mind.
100%,
right?
yeah.
And then I just feel like that if we were able to harness the power of gravity, we could do something with time. Now, whether or not that would break the machine, I mean, that's up for debate, but if we have the power to harness it, I feel like there's got to be some rules to not break it as well.
So, I mean, people talk about sometimes you can do things, but then there's the question of should you? I don't know if I had the opportunity.
Jeff Goldblum me? You just Jeff Goldblumed me.
I did. So I think that I think for me, it's like if someone said, do you want to go back in time? I think it would be super tempting, but I don't think I would want to. I don't want to go to the future. I don't want to go to the past. I don't want to mess up the life that I've had, because I like who I am, and I like the people. And even if I hated myself, I like people enough the way they are, and I love people the way they are, that I don't want to change them for any reason. Right. So for me, if there was even an iota of a moment that I could potentially change myself or someone else because I time traveled, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah. So I think about that a lot too. Like, if you got the chance to like go back to a younger version of yourself and like make different choices, like that would completely change everything. The
trajectory of your life. Yeah. You'd be a completely new future for you. But then there's a butterfly effect, right? It would change lives minimum around you, but there could be some minor thing that you did that affects the livelihood of the world being able to continue to spin around the earth,
Right.
spin around the sun, and just, I don't know, for me, morally, ethically, intellectually, it would be interesting, but I don't want to do it. I don't think I could actually time travel. Now, if I could send my brain back to a time and like watched it like a history show, like a documentary of my life to maybe remember things I had forgotten, I would maybe do that. But as long as I couldn't interact, make no change, I think that would be something that would be super interesting.
I think that's why somebody asked the other day, it was like, would you rather do this or that? And it was like, would you rather be able to travel, 1,000 years into the future, or would you rather have a spaceship? And I'm like, spaceship all day, because
100%,
one, it's not going to ruin the timeline, like you're still in your present time, and like you get to explore and be like the first person to discover like these great new things, maybe find like an asteroid that's full of lithium and like save the Earth's save the Earth's lithium population, and like I just think that would be way cool, to like I'm all about the space travel and the exploration and seeing the unknown.
100%,
but time travel is cool, and as fun of a thought as it is, I think I'm right there with you. I don't think I would actually, if I had the opportunity, I don't think I could actually time travel.
Yeah, I mean, if
I did, it would be a one-way trip to the future. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I mean, yes. So yeah, but then again, you'd have to think that you were always supposed to go to the future or present,
right?
Because you don't exist in the present. I think I definitely would also pick space travel to be able to see kind of what's out there, because it's such a mystery. I would totally love to do that, but I think also being able to really explore our oceans. I think they're so much more mysterious in space. Me and Dan went to lunch the other day, and we were really talking about the ocean and why, the creatures above water have really evolved into creatures like with us. But then you talk about primates. We talked about on TikTok, there's a dog named Bunny that they've taught them how to talk with buttons. I mean, the dog is like asking.
I've seen that dog.
Yes, but I mean the dog. The dog is asking questions about dreams. Why do I dream? The dog asks its owner with the buttons, why do I dream? A dog, right? A dog is having like complex thought and debate with, so we talk about like, why are creatures above water evolving, but below?
I would have to see that, because like I don't know if a dog can really understand what a dream is.
Well, I mean, asking questions like why dream angry, is the progression of the buttons. I've watched a lot of the videos. It's really interesting. But then you go underneath the water in the ocean, and there's not as much evolution underneath the water. You don't have creatures that, mermaids.
They haven't needed to. They
No.
There was a huge discovery recently where like a large portion of the ocean floor, they thought it was the bottom of the ocean, was not the bottom at all. Like just through their routine scanning, they saw it start to kind of move and shift. And so they started researching a little bit deeper, and they found out that it was like millions of different species of fish and wildlife had merged into like one ecosystem that was so solid that they thought it was the ocean floor, and that's just how they live, like all tangled up in each other and stuff.
Isn't that nuts?
So like
it's crazy.
that is nuts, but they haven't had a reason to evolve.
And that's the conversation that B and Dan had. We talked about how, above ground you had the primates that evolved into humans, and he said, is it the opposable thumb? Is that why humans became human? But then you talk about like the dog evolved, and I think that there's cause and effect that happens above. There's a lot more, in my opinion, and we don't know a lot about the ocean, but there's an ever-changing ecospace above water that happens that kind of cause the migration of species. The cause and effect of things like fire that creates. There's a level of creation that happened above water that didn't happen below water. I think the thumb was a big part of that, but you have storms and earthquakes, and then you have the element of fire and being able to harness that fire. The creatures below water, I mean, that ecosystem hasn't really, when you get to the very bottom of the ocean, we don't know how much it's changed in millions of years, and that's the reason why there hasn't been a causative effect of just the amount of events that have happened above water happened. And then, those creatures didn't have opposable thumbs. They don't have the ability to harness fire and have that cause effect. Like an example that you don't have trees underneath water. So a primate, a chimpanzee, walks by a tree, grabs a branch, realizes, maybe accidentally falls into a bird and stabs it. And then the thought is, ooh, I now have a weapon, right? That didn't happen underneath water. They still live on their instincts. So I think it's interesting that we have an entire ecosystem underneath, the surface of the water that has probably maybe relatively unchanged because those creatures haven't needed. So I think people talk about space travel and really studying space. I think that underneath in our oceans equally is fascinating.
Yeah, squids are from space. They said that there was a study. Yeah, there was a study and they said squid DNA is not found anywhere else on Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no link. That is wild.
Like, why is that?
Do you think they came? Do you think they came on the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs? That's my theory. Maybe that's what happened.
And then I also read something recently how scientists have no idea why mushrooms, like they don't know anything about them. Why are some of them poisonous? Why do they exist? Why do some of them grow? And I also think that's interesting that there's a whole. I mean, it's not a plant. It's not a creature. It's legit its own thing.
Yeah.
So then you go,
and it has the power to alter our brains too.
Yes, it can kill you. A mushroom can kill you. It can.
Beyond that, it can control you.
Yes.
There's mushrooms that take over ant bodies or whatever. Like it infects this ant and like infects the host. And it takes over their brain and it makes them see like hallucinations, so it can direct what it wants and it controls its actions. It can tell it where to go, what to do, and and it doesn't kill its host. It just replaces its flesh with its own flesh. So like the ant becomes like part mushroom or whatever, and it keeps it alive because if it decomposes, it'll die.
Yeah.
So like imagine if mushrooms could do that to people, like that'd be nuts.
I mean, and you talk about like maybe squids or whatever being like from outer space. It's like, I mean, maybe our DNA is from outer space and mushrooms.
I think about that a lot too. Like I really wonder some of the ancient technology and stuff that they find in like these catacombs and like all this. Oh, this was way before it should have been here, know. And I just think I'm like, what if
where are the aliens? Yeah.
Well, what if there's a more advanced version of human beings out there? Like what if we're the advanced intelligence we've been searching for? What if we're the aliens and like, well, for whatever reason, whether they were just colonizing space or maybe their planet was doomed and so they sent off the remnants of their race to different areas of the universe or something, and we just ended up here in a place that was able to sustain life and stuff. Like it's just crazy that the planet used to be run by dinosaurs. It was dinosaurs. It's fucking weird.
And then humans evolved and created the entire space, became king of the castles of Earth. And like, what if we are the specimens that came from space, and that's why we evolved?
Right.
You kind of think, I mean, that's kind of crazy, but then it also kind of explains a little bit of human behavior. Thinking about maybe they sent humans or maybe they sent primates to evolve into humans here to colonize. And that's why as human beings, especially in some of the countries over the span of history, have been the need to colonize. It's because it's innately bred into us because we have colonized outer space without realizing that we're aliens.
To conquer,
I mean, anything's possible. Yeah, anything's possible. I mean, I always find it super interesting that, like, the thing about the squid and like about mushrooms. Like, scientists have no idea why mushrooms, and why the fungi exist like that. In such a wide variety, and why it really, like, why it is its own category. And there's no, you can do all the study you want, but it feels like you can never crack the code of them. I just find that fascinating that things like that exist. I mean, there are creatures, like I said, in the bottom of the ocean that haven't changed and you may never see. And to know that as much exploration that we've done into space and into our own world, that there's still an infinite number of mysteries, even in our own ecosystem. We don't even. Yeah. It's really. fascinating.
And then we have people just like spreading misinformation and lies and shit on the internet on purpose and like fucking it up. Fucking up our evolution, man.
Yep, they totally are. I mean, like I said, our future could be idiocracy.
It definitely could be.
Yeah.
Well, Amber, as much as I love you, we are over our time, which is good. I love it when that happens. It's 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 20 seconds.
My gosh.
14:20. Woo.
Not 20 seconds.
But I do have this thing that I like to do at the end of my episodes.
Okay.
And I like to ask you if you had a platform, or if you had 1 million people in front of you and you got your opportunity to say one thing to 1 million people, and a lot of people go mental health or like, be kind to each other, what would be the one thing that you would say to 1 million people if you could right now?
I would say that it's okay to not be okay.
Okay.
And I think that what I would say to 1 million people or whoever was that it's okay to not be okay, and that where you are now is not where you're going to be in 10 years. So if it's bad now, there's a great possibility it's not going to be bad in 10 years. And that the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life is to reach a hand back and ask for help. And I think that I would say everyone gather up that courage if you need it and ask for help, because you can't always do it on your own, and that there's nothing wrong with asking a hand up or a hand out if you need it. We're bred as a people to be prideful and to work hard and to make it on your own as much as you can, and it is absolutely not weakness to ask for help when you need it, and I think not enough of us know that. So I would say there are resources out there to help you if you need to. There's always someone out there willing to help you. And then also, once you reach that level of safeness within inside yourself, hopefully with the help of others, I think it's equally as important that you reach a hand to someone that needs it as well. So I think my message would be it's okay to not be okay, and then gather that courage to ask for help, and then reach a hand back to someone else when you reach that next level.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
I loved it. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
You are an amazing human being, and I am so honored to have you as my friend, Amber. And I'm so glad that we met, and I'm so excited for all the adventures in the future. And we need to play Stardew real soon.
Oh, we totally do. Okay.
Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in to Wonder Bathos, episode 7. If you enjoyed this episode and it's your first time listening, I urge you to go back and listen to the other episodes. We've had so many fantastic guests on. We have so many fantastic guests coming up in the future, and it has been such a pleasure doing these episodes and lifting my friends up and spending this time with my friends. The whole concept started when I just got tired of telling myself, like, I wish I had more time to spend with my friends and have these intimate conversations in these moments. And so this podcast is very important to me. And so, like, I'm not just being a good host when I'm saying, like, I'm honored to have somebody on. Like, it really means a lot to me to have my friends be a part of this and to come on the show with me, because this is my gift to them. So I love you guys. I love everybody for being a part of this. Amber, you've been incredible.
Thank you. We love you. We
love you. And I will see you guys next week. Make sure to come out to the streams sometimes. They're Monday nights. Me and Amber played Ember Nights tonight. Mm-hmm. So from Monday from 6 to 8, 2 hours before the podcast is recorded. We usually play a game together and kind of get warmed up and loosened up before we do the podcast. And it's a lot of fun. Tonight was incredible. So thank you and good night.
Love you.